We are pleased to be joined today by the president of the University of North Dakota, President Josh Wynne. Josh, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, Scott. Good morning to you.
I love the green tie.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We like to show our colors.
There's no green like that UND green.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just isn't. I know that'll offend all the Bison fans, but it's the green. It's unbelievable. So,
on the other hand, there are many colors in the rainbow, so it's okay that there are other colors.
That's true. Yes, exactly. We're willing to share the color. So I know you're interim president. Do you like that label?
I like that it's interim, but I also like that the chancellor and the State Board of Higher Education made it clear that while the time period is limited, I am the president. So I'm not a caretaker. I wouldn't have taken the job on if I were just marking time until the next person comes. The university is moving forward. My job is to keep it moving forward, and that's what I intend to do for whatever time it is until the permanent president is announced.
Yeah, and that's, I think, important for people to know, right? Because you're able to get. You also have a history there, so you're able to bring some of your time. Obviously, talk about the first day you walked on campus at UND.
So that was in 2004. So I was recruited here to be basically the second in command in the UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences. And the first day on campus, I remember very clearly. I believe it was September 16th, 2004. And I was very impressed with the enthusiasm with which I was greeted and the great plans that we had for the School of Medicine and Health Sciences. And a lot of those have really come to fruition over the last 15 years. I've been dean now. I'm going into my 11th year as dean of the school. And the 11 years are matched by the 2 months I've been interim president. So it's been an interesting contrast. But the difference between my first day on campus and now is really impressive with the distance that the school and the university has come in those ensuing years.
So you came here sort of surprised by what you found. Do you think that's... You think that's something that can be repeated over and over, that when you bring people in, they say, wow, this is happening here, and bring in that level of talent to keep growing the university?
So, so the surprise was on the positive side. Yep. And one of the things when we're recruiting non-North Dakotans to, for instance, a faculty position, the key thing is actually to get them here. There are some people, and I was one of them, quite frankly, who said, where's North Dakota? I mean, for people who are not born here, it may not be intuitive of all of the really nice things that are happening in North Dakota. But if we can get them to the region, get them on campus, whether it's UND or NDSU or any of the other campuses in the system, once we get them here, then we have a real chance of recruiting them here. And I think in a lot of cases, like my wife Susan and me, we then become part of the community. So We've been here for 15 years. We have no plans to leave. And our neighbors actually now, even though they say, yeah, we know you sort of moved here, but you two are North Dakotans. And that sense of acceptance is really nice.
So you got the endorsement from the neighbors.
The neighbors did it. If the neighbors did it, I think we're okay.
Because, and I will tell you, that's not an easy endorsement to get. I've been here since 1983, 84. I still am considered an import. Sometimes I think, well, you're not from here. Of course, I'm a Minnesota boy, so not too far away. But there's a little bit of that in the water in North Dakota.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, we've worked hard to be part of the community. Mentioned earlier that we spend some of our time in Fargo and some of the time in Grand Forks because my wife is a full-time cardiologist in Fargo. So we have a house in Fargo, but we also have a townhouse up in Grand Forks, and we've divided our time. Now we're almost completely moved into the university house on the UND campus. So we're very much part of the community, and we revel in that. We enjoy it.
That is great. Talk a little bit about there was some recent news we talked about on the air here that I know you are proud of, as well as the Alumni Foundation, of record fundraising.
Yeah. So
and that would suggest that's good news. Any way you look at it, that's good news, right? It's good news, and it's a lot of money. It's good news, and it's the highest year ever. It's more than double than last year. It's there's a lot of good news in that. Why is that happening? What's going on there?
So I think that there have been some notable things that got into the news that maybe some people thought would get in the way of fundraising. And I think what it says, what the record year says, is that people understand that UND is moving forward, that the programs are right for the citizens of North Dakota, and that is worth investing in if you are a donor. And some of the notoriety that got into the press, while it's real, that should not cloud the direction of the university. The university is moving forward. We're trying to meet the needs of the people of North Dakota, both on an educational standpoint, on a service standpoint, and on a discovery standpoint, discovering new knowledge that helps the people of North Dakota. And UND is doing that. So I think what it says is that people understand that there can be bumps in the road, if you will, but the overall direction is positive and is what people like. They like the things that we're doing. The new strategic plan, 7 principles, 7 points that was widely vetted. And I think most people say, yeah, UND is headed in the right direction. And that gets manifested by donors being so very generous to the university, to the foundation, and thus, most importantly, impacting students in a very positive way.
Some of that in the news that you talk about, that controversy came at the hands of Mark Kennedy, but sort of the strategic plan. So, I mean, was there more good than bad in your mind in the leadership of Mark Kennedy?
The way I like to, the answer is absolutely yes. And the way I would say it is, let's not confuse the message with the messenger. Most of the programs, I would say virtually all, I have not only no problem with, but I and my colleagues, fellow faculty members, and the community actually think they were right too. I mean, let's go through some of them. The strategic plan, widely vetted, widely supported. Is it perfect? Of course not. Is it going to be in evolution over time as circumstances change? Of course. But it's a really good starting point. Addressing deferred maintenance on campus. Clearly, that's an important thing to do. It really hasn't been addressed properly before. Beautifying the campus, taking care of road construction that needed to be done, addressing issues like student debt. I mean, those are important things. They are going forward. And the fact that the messenger of them was somewhat controversial at times shouldn't detract from the importance of the projects. And the projects, I think, are largely spot on.
You know, Mark Kennedy was a friend of mine. I knew him when he was in Congress. And obviously Minnesotan as well. I think he might have spent too much time in Washington when you talk about the messenger, right? Because he just kind of had that abrasiveness to him sometimes where he really, you know, I mean, he was always thinking, he was always going. He was never a guy that was going to, you know, go the wrong way. But sometimes I think the messenger and the message analogy is a good one. And you have something there to build on, right?
Well, that's actually one of the reasons that I accepted the job of interim president is it isn't like there's a tremendous amount that's broken as far as programs, as far as personnel, as far as moving the university forward. So I felt that I was coming into a situation that didn't have a lot of potholes in it, other than the one we're talking about. And I think, quite frankly, my track record over the last 15 years is that I can try to work with people. I think I do effectively. And that what's important, again, and I hope I've demonstrated that, is that the message, the substance, is really a lot more important than the messenger.
And at this point, that's rearview mirror, right?
So I have an expression about that I'd like to use because I agree with you. And the expression is, it's okay to look in the rearview mirror. Just don't stare.
Or you're going to crash into something, right? Yeah.
So it is rear view. I don't think we should forget about it. Yeah. I think it should inform how we do things moving forward, but I don't think focusing on it is the thing to do. I agree completely.
You're talking about a lot of positive things that are going on up there. I want to talk about when we come back where maybe something is broken, where you see the biggest blinking light on the dashboard of UND and what you want to begin the effort to take on. We'll continue our conversation with the president of the University of North Dakota, Dr. Josh Wynne, on What's on Your Mind after this short timeout. Don't go away. We're finishing our chat with Josh Wynne, who's the president of UND right now, interim in that position. There is a committee now stood up to search for a president. No timeline set. Just they are looking. And in the meantime, President Wynne, who has of course been a part of UND since 2004, is leading the ship. What worries you as you take on this new post about the UND? I hear people say, for instance, campus, it's like, the restaurants are hurting because kids aren't there anymore. It's cleared out. It's, da-da-da-da-da. There's a whole new thing. It's online, but it's just not the same UND anymore. Is that true?
No, I don't think it is. But let me just answer your question about what worries me. What have I seen in this long time period that I've been interim president? It's all of 2 months. But I remember, even though I've been at UND for 15 years, for 15 years minus 2 months, I've seen it through the prism, through the lens of someone who's focused on healthcare and educating health professionals. Over the last 2 months, my horizon has widened substantially as I'm looking at the entire campus. And I'll tell you what I've learned, and I think the single most important issue you touched on is the change that will occur over the next decade or 2 decades. Number one change is a demographic change where there are going to be, not only in North Dakota, but throughout the entire United States, a diminishing number of high school graduates. Just because the baby boomers aren't having babies anymore and the babies are growing up, we're all of higher education will actually have fewer of the traditional students. On the other hand, there is at the same time a growing feeling that there will be a change in how we deliver educational products, as you said, online as part of it. And a third big challenge is a large reservoir, let's call them, of people, citizens, who have either started college and never finished or never even started. I mean, it's a minority of North Dakotans and Americans who actually have a bachelor's degree or more. And in the changing economy that will be occurring in the future, we need to have our citizens, especially North Dakotans, prepared for the changing economy as we go forward. I see that as the biggest challenge, the biggest issue for UND and other institutions, but UND in particular, moving forward to make sure that we are anticipating the needs of North Dakotans from an educational standpoint, and we're prepared to deliver that educational program in a way that they find attractive and that they complete. It turns out a little over a third of Americans have that bachelor's degree or more, but 2/3 of Americans actually have some degree of college, but they didn't finish. So we need to think very strategically about how we meet the needs of North Dakotans so that they get the training and the degrees, if that's what's necessary, so that they can be competitive in the changing marketplace that is occurring and will continue to occur over the coming decades.
So as you look at UND over the last 10 years and look at the next 10, what's the right number? How many students should be on campus, traditional versus non-traditional? What's the number, you think? Is there a goal?
So I do not like to set numeric goals, because then when you do that, the tendency is to fill those numbers no matter what. I would say the right number is the number of students that we can accommodate and give them the tools that they need. And saying that we need to have a certain number of students so that we, for instance, can maintain our budget, I'm not taking that approach. I'm taking the approach, what are the needs of the community that we have to meet, and we will right size to be able to do that. Now, that may mean we're bigger, it may mean we're smaller, it may mean we're the same size, but the goal needs to be satisfying the need and not satisfying the financial appetite of UND in some arbitrary way.
Makes sense. I only have a few seconds left, but do you see what do you, if you had a magic wand, would it grow? Do you think it does get bigger? Do you think there's a market there? Which of those three do you think it does?
I actually think that there is a large market of and we use the term market, but there's a large volume of citizens who could profit from better tools so that they are even more competitive in the workplace. And that includes military. It includes people who maybe thought about college but couldn't or didn't complete it. And it's non-traditional students. So if we look at all of those, I think there are many people out there who could profit from a UND educational program.
Fascinating conversation. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it and look forward to more conversations like this for our listeners.
I enjoyed it, Scott. Thank you.